Imagine being told that the entire universe, like the whole vast, unfathomable expanse of stars, planets, and galaxies, has just gone completely mad.
Right. Not just broken, but fundamentally insane.
Exactly.
Huh.
And the kicker, you listening to this right now with all your daily struggles, your flaws, and your absolute unpredictability are the only one who can fix it.
It frames human existence in a way that feels almost like a sprawling science fiction epic, honestly.
It really does, but the materials we are diving into today present that exact scenario not as a metaphor, but as the literal mechanical reality of the cosmos.
Yeah, it's a completely wild shift in perspective.
So welcome to this deep dive. Today we are unpacking a fascinating lecture on Eastern cosmology, specifically Daeim thought, but we aren't just looking at ancient philosophy in a vacuum here.
No, definitely not. We're layering it alongside the modern research of Choi Won-hyuk. He's an academic who actually applies these ancient concepts of yin-yang and cosmic balance to modern cyclical economics.
And even artificial intelligence, which is just mind-blowing.
It is. It really shows how dynamic this stuff is.
So our mission today is to decode this massive cosmic architecture, figure out why human free will is considered the ultimate wild card of reality, and hopefully give you a completely new perspective on your place in the universe.
To understand what your role actually is, we really have to start with the architecture itself.
Right.
In this specific cosmological framework, the universe doesn't just run on gravity and electromagnetism. It operates on three fundamental axes of management.
Sort of like the three pillars holding up reality.
Exactly. Heaven, earth, and humanity. In the original Eastern terminology, these are known as the three realms, or the Samgai.
Right. Heaven, earth, and humanity. And watching over these three pillars is a supreme observer, an entity referred to as the Supreme Emperor, or Sangje.
Yes. And this isn't just a distant ruler sitting on a cloud somewhere.
No, this is an entity possessing total granular insight. We are talking about an omniscient perspective that sees everything happening across those three realms down to a single microscopic speck of dust.
Nothing escapes notice.
Yeah.
At all.
But, and here is where the story really kicks off, despite having this omniscient observer at the helm, a catastrophic crisis still occurs.
The universe literally loses its mind.
Literally. The concept is called Samgai Chakran, which translates to the madness or the chaos of the three realms.
Which naturally begs the question, how does the universe go mad?
Right. When I first read this, I assumed it was some massive cosmic war or, I don't know, a disruption in the fabric of space-time. But it's not.
Not even close.
The root cause of the universe breaking down is entirely human. It's resentment.
Yes, exactly. The specific term is one-han. It represents the deep, accumulated toxic energy of human grudges, suffering, and unresolved anger.
And I think it's important to clarify here because in Western thought, we tend to treat emotion as something purely psychological, just a feeling trapped inside your own head.
Right, like it's just a state of mind. But in this Eastern philosophical framework, one-han is treated as a tangible physical force. It's thermodynamic.
Wait, thermodynamic? Like it generates actual heat and pressure? Essentially, yes. When billions of humans harbor deep resentment over millennia, that energy doesn't just vanish into thin air. It accumulates.
It builds up.
It rots, actually. And eventually it bubbles up and literally paralyzes the mechanical gears of heaven and earth.
That is just so wild. So human anger essentially choked the engine of the universe.
That's a great way to put it.
If I can use a tech analogy, it's like looking at a flawlessly coded digital simulation that suddenly starts melting down simply because the NPCs, the non-player characters, humans in this case, they develop this toxic sentience.
And their internal, unresolved anger literally corrupted the server they were running on.
Bringing the whole cosmos to the brink of annihilation. But hold on, I have to push back on the Supreme Observer part here.
Okay, what's the hang-up?
If Sanjay is completely omniscient, right, if he sees every single speck of dust and knows this toxic resentment is building up, why on earth did he just sit back and watch the universe get to the absolute brink of total annihilation before stepping in? It's a fair question. But it's because true mastery in this philosophy requires absolute non-interference.
Non-interference.
Yeah, the framework introduces the concept of the great person, or Daeim. A defining characteristic of a great person is absolute trust in delegation.
Okay.
Sanjay didn't micromanage. He set up the systems of heaven and earth, delegated the cosmic operations to various spiritual beings and natural laws, and just trusted them completely to resolve their own issues.
So he refused to be a helicopter boss to the universe.
Precisely. I mean, if you are constantly hovering, constantly doubting the entities you've entrusted with a task, you aren't truly leading them.
Right, you're just doing it for them.
Exactly. Sanjay let the systems run themselves because the universe was designed to be self-correcting. The problem was that the sheer volume of human resentment was something the system had never accounted for.
It was basically an unprecedented error code.
It really was. And it was only when the situation became so completely unmanageable that the cosmic authorities themselves, like the spirits, Buddhas, and bodhisattvas, actually gathered together in the highest realm, the ninth heaven, or Guqian.
To desperately beg for his intervention.
Yes.
So basically, the spiritual beings running the universe had to file for cosmic bankruptcy.
They had to admit total defeat. It was only when they petitioned him directly that he finally agreed to step in.
Which brings us to the actual fix.
Right.
So a supreme being is forced out of retirement to fix a broken universe. He has to perform cosmic work, or gongsa, to enact a total remodeling of the three realms.
A process they call Gaicho.
Right, Gaijo. But the part of this that I find incredibly human and honestly a bit funny is that he is absolutely dreading it. Like, he is so reluctant to do this work.
Oh, absolutely. The lecture explicitly quotes Sanjay's frustration here. He says, I take on this work without choice, noting that his own resentment at having to intervene is boundless.
Boundless resentment from the supreme being.
Right, because fixing a broken universe isn't some joyous act of creation. It is grueling, dirty work. It requires issuing punishments, imposing harsh order, and cleaning up a mess that others created.
It perfectly mirrors a highly competent middle manager who finally managed to delegate all his projects, only to be forced to join a dreaded, month-long disciplinary committee because his team completely fell apart.
It's the ultimate universe-sized sigh.
Totally. But when you look at the actual remodeling process, fixing the universe isn't uniformly difficult.
Right.
Remodeling heaven and earth is surprisingly easy.
Yeah, it is.
It's human remodeling in Gongeijo. That is the absolute hardest part of the job. And I'm struggling with the physics of that. Why are tiny, fragile humans so much harder to remodel than the massive elemental forces of heaven, stars, and planets?
Well, it comes down to the fundamental difference between deterministic laws and human agency, specifically free will.
Ah, free will, the classic problem.
Always. The spiritual beings and the physical forces of heaven and earth are massive, yes, but they are predictable.
Yeah.
They naturally follow truth, order, and principle.
Gravity always pulls.
Stars always burn. When a cosmic rule is set for them, they obey it because it is just in their nature to align with the universe's mechanics.
They don't wake up on a Tuesday and decide to just stop being gravity.
Exactly.
Hmm.
But humans are an entirely different mechanism. Humans possess free will, which makes them uniquely chaotic.
To say the least.
The lecture notes that humans scatter recklessly. They follow their own desires, they form grudges, they act against their own best interests.
And you can't just flip a cosmic switch to make humans behave differently.
No, because doing so would erase their free will, which effectively destroys what makes them human in the first place.
So to fix the universe, you have to cure the root cause of the madness, which is human resentment. But you have to do it without violating the very free will that caused the resentment.
Which is the ultimate cosmic headache. You basically have to create an environment where humanity chooses to remodel itself.
And this brings us to a massive paradigm shift in how we view our place in the world.
It really does.
If human free will is the universe's biggest liability, this philosophy argues that it is also, paradoxically, its most powerful asset.
Yes. Out of the three realms, heaven, earth, and humanity, humanity isn't the weakest link, it is actually the strongest.
Which is a concept known as the Age of Human Supremacy, or Injan Sege.
Because human agency is the only force capable of true, unpredictable change, humans are the only ones capable of enacting the cosmic cure.
Right. And this leads to a rather shocking theological reversal called cosmic labor, or Samga Yoksa.
It completely flips the script on traditional religion.
It really does. I mean, we are usually taught that humans exist to serve the gods or to be subservient to the massive forces of nature.
But this doctrine argues the exact opposite. Ultimately, humans will be the ones to direct, command, and manage the supreme beings and spiritual entities.
Wait, really? Humans directing the gods?
Yes. To illustrate this, the lecturer shares a brilliant metaphor from Sangji, who says, I am a guest in the East, a guest in the West, a guest without a host in heaven and earth.
That's such a striking image.
Essentially, the old deities, the spiritual forces, the gods we've been praying to, they have just been wandering guests who had to temporarily manage the house because the tree hosts were asleep.
Wow.
Now humans must wake up and step into their role as the true hosts of reality.
It's a profound promotion. The era of the gods managing everything from top down is definitively over.
That system failed.
Yeah.
It led to the accumulation of resentment and the madness of the three realms.
It makes me think of the architecture of an ancient stone arch. You have heaven and earth as the two massive, towering pillars on either side. They are huge, ancient, and undeniably powerful.
Right.
But without the much smaller keystone, humanity wedged right in the middle at the very top, those two massive pillars have nothing to brace against. They just collapse inward on each other.
We are the friction, the crucial third element that actually keeps the structure standing. That is a perfect visualization.
I just kept thinking about that rule of three, or like the third heave in a tug of war where the real power finally lands.
Exactly. The keystone doesn't have the mass of the pillars, but it holds the structural authority. The universe requires humanity to mature, to take responsibility for its own free will, and act as that keystone.
Okay, conceptually, I love that. But let's look at the practical application. Because knowing we are supposed to be the hosts of the universe is incredibly daunting.
Very much so.
How does a person practically manage a cosmos? Most of us can barely manage our daily commute or, our email inboxes.
True. But the framework addresses this directly through a concept called universal affairs, or Chaunhasa. And it doesn't start with you suddenly commanding the stars.
Okay, good.
It is deeply grounded in traditional Eastern self-cultivation. The philosophy outlines a strict 5-step progression required to reach the stage of managing the universe, and it starts entirely internally.
Right. Step 1 is Jungsim, which is rectifying your own mind, like getting your own internal chaos under control.
Yes. Only after you rectify your mind can you move to the second step, Susan, which is cultivating yourself, your actions, and your daily habits.
Okay, mind first, then habits.
From there, you move outward to Jega, managing your family, then Chaguk, governing the state. And only after all those steps are mastered do you reach the final stage.
Kyongchiana.
Exactly. Pacifying the world. And the lecture explicitly equates pacifying the world with managing universal affairs.
So you literally cannot skip steps. You can't hack the universe.
You cannot manage the cosmic spirits of heaven and earth if you haven't even figured out how to manage your own anger at the breakfast table.
That is so humbling. Micromanagement is the prerequisite for macromanagement.
It really is. And this is where the second source we are looking at today becomes so vital. We aren't just reading ancient texts here.
No, we are looking at the contemporary academic portfolio of researcher Choi Won-hyuk. He takes these exact Eastern concepts like Daesun thought and the progression from mind to universe and applies them to modern systems.
Exactly. Choi Won-hyuk studies cyclical economics. He looks at how global financial systems move in seasons, much like the cosmos.
Which makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Right. And he argues that just as the cosmic era is shifting to this age of human supremacy, our modern economic and technological systems are shifting from rigid, top-down management to decentralized, human-driven networks.
He even integrates artificial intelligence into his methodology, which is wild, and he publishes across Korean, English, Chinese, and Japanese.
It really shows that these aren't just dusty theological ideas. They are highly practical frameworks for managing complex systems today.
If managing a single country requires a separation of powers, the legislative, executive, and judicial branches to keep things balanced, what is the separation of powers for the universe itself?
Well, the cosmic separation of powers is heaven, earth, and humanity.
Okay.
Think about how a government collapses if the executive branch completely ignores the judiciary. In the same way the universe collapsed because humanity was wildly out of sync with heaven and earth,
Right.
All three branches must work in tandem. But in this new era, humanity is the branch holding the deciding vote.
If we are holding the deciding vote, I really want to know who originally set up this voting system.
It's a great question.
Because if we trace this all the way back to the origin of existence, I assume we're talking about Sang-jae sitting up in the clouds, snapping his fingers to create the universe. But the lecture completely shatters that assumption.
It really does.
Yeah.
To explain the mechanics of creation, the lecturer pulls from Laozi's Tao Te Ching, referencing the famous sequence. Tao produces 1, 1 produces 2, 2 produces 3, 3 produces all things.
Let's actually unpack the mechanics of that, because it's not just a poetic list. How does this map to the Daesun cosmology?
The Tao represents the ultimate origin. One is original energy, or 1-gi. That singular energy then splits into a binary 2, which represents heaven and earth.
Okay, so we have heaven and earth.
But heaven and earth alone are static. They're just an empty stage. It requires the arrival of three humanity to act as a catalyst.
Ah,
Only when humanity is introduced can all things truly flourish and interact.
but the part that really challenged my perspective is where that Tao, that ultimate origin, actually exists.
Right.
The text calls it Mujuk. It's described as an empty origin, often visualized as a perfect circle. And it makes a massive point of clarifying a common human misconception.
This is a huge point.
The physical sky that we look up at every single day, the blue expanse with the clouds and the stars, that is
Yeah.
just a created thing. It is not the ultimate authority, it's just hardware.
Exactly.
So if Sangje didn't come from the physical sky, and the sky is just an object, where exactly is the supreme origin?
This is perhaps the most liberating philosophical distinction in the entire text. Miguk is a state entirely beyond human sensory perception.
Beyond perception.
When Eastern philosophers call it an empty origin or refer to emptiness, they do not mean a literal vacuum of nothingness. They mean a state of pure, unmanifested potential.
Like raw code.
Exactly. It is the raw source code of reality, existing before energy ever split into the physical dimensions of sky and ground.
So it's not the stars. It's the invisible mathematics that dictate how a star burns.
Precisely. And the lecturer points out that understanding this sequence changes how you interact with reality. If you mistakenly believe the physical sky is the ultimate heaven, then you are entirely subject to the physical laws, threats, and fears of this material world.
You feel incredibly small.
Exactly. But if you know that Mujik is the true origin, it removes your fear of the physical universe. You realize the material world is just a stage that was built, and as the crucial third element, you have a direct, active connection to the unmanifested energy that built it.
You aren't just a victim of your environment, you're part of its operating system.
Yes.
Which brings us to the ultimate call to action. Because we understand this architecture, the text says we have arrived at a very specific cosmic moment. It introduces the concept of three transitions, or Samchain, which have led us directly to a period called Degrichu.
Right, Jugitshu translates roughly to the perfect, ripe autumn time for achievement.
It's a golden opportunity.
Think of it in terms of cosmic seasons. Spring is for planting. Summer is for rapid, chaotic growth. But autumn is the time for harvesting what has matured.
And we are in autumn now.
We are. The universe has gone through its chaotic growing pains, the madness of the three realms, and now the conditions are perfectly ripe for humanity to step into its supreme role and harvest the results.
The cosmic weather has finally broken in our favor. So what does this all mean for you listening to this deep dive?
That's the big question.
According to these profound Eastern philosophies and modern cyclical frameworks, you are not just some insignificant speck of dust floating on a rock in a vast, cold, indifferent void. Not at all.
Far from it.
Humanity is the keystone. We are the decisive friction-creating force that is literally keeping the pillars of reality from collapsing. The universe broke because of the toxic exhaust of human resentment, and it can only be remodeled, repaired, and perfected through the conscious exercise of human free will.
And if that sounds like far too much pressure for a Tuesday, the philosophy offers a very comforting starting point.
Thank goodness.
You do not have to achieve total cosmic enlightenment today. The very first step is simply to acquire this knowledge. Knowing the structure of the universe precedes the ability to awaken to it.
You can't play the game until you read the rules.
Exactly. And when you do understand these rules, it leaves you with a truly vital question to consider as you go about your week.
Okay.
If human resentment has the physical power to literally paralyze heaven and earth, and if human free will is the only tool capable of remodeling a broken cosmos, well, what does that say about the seemingly mundane choices you make every single day?
That is the real takeaway here.
Every time you choose to manage your anger instead of lashing out, every time you take a quiet moment to rectify your mind or exercise your free will with intention rather than recklessness, you aren't just making an isolated personal choice. You are casting a microvote on the structural stability of the entire universe.
You are the one who has to fix a universe that has gone mad. And the tools you use aren't mystical or out of reach. They are your mind, your daily actions, and your will. It's something to think about the next time you feel small or helpless or just like an NPC glitching out in a massive simulation. You are the host. Until next time.